What do we mean by advanced functions? When you launch the current Advanced Functions panel, you will see the Power Pins button and the Batch Testing button. As we introduce new features, they will be added to the Advanced Functions panel. Now, let's look at the Power Pins setup. When testing discrete components such as diodes or a transistor, you don't have power pins. But for an integrated circuit device, you most likely have one or more dedicated power pins. What options do we have for power pins? One option is they could be left floating. Is this a good idea? Probably not. If your power pins are floating, then some of the current applied to the pin under measurement could sneak onto the power rail and affect your results in a way that is very hard to predict. It may trigger some internal logic and attempt to power the device, putting it into some state that you're not aware of. Generally, you want to set power to some fixed voltage. In the majority of cases, you want this voltage to be 0 volts, basically ground. On your DUT board, you may simply want to hardwire your power pins to ground and exclude them from your test. This is fine as long as you don't want to take characteristic curves on the power pin, or you don't want to change the voltage on the power rail. You may prefer to connect the power pins to one of the 4 internal power supplies of the CurveMaster. These are high current programmable supplies that are set to 0 volts and then enabled during the test. This means that the CurveMaster actively forces all the power pins to ground. In some cases, you may want to set the power to some voltage level for a particular test. Or you may want to run curve traces on the power pins, or perhaps you have more than one power rail to characterize. With the CurveMaster, this is easily possible, because every system channel can sink or source up to 2 milliamps of current. For more power, you can also combine pins together to deliver higher current. By connecting each pin on the power rail to a system channel, then defining them in the same group as power pins, you effectively increase the available power to the power rail. 10 power pins, for example, would provide 20 milliamps of current. Set the voltage for those pins to the same voltage level, anywhere from 0 to 5 volts. You can define up to 30 different power groups in the software, enough for the most demanding of chips. In the Power Pin Setup panel, you select a group number from 2 through 32. You can give the group a name that makes sense to you. You assign the voltage and then assign pins to the group. When you run the test, this tells the CurveMaster that these pins are connected to the device and the pins require the voltage set in this group's panel. This concludes the Power Pin Setup video.